Today, we're going to be committing that most egregious of YouTube crimes. We're going to make an unscripted video. So, look, truth is, I just thought we maybe needed a chat, an update, but not one of those kind of, boring YouTubery update videos where it's just like, everything's fine, everything's great, it's all business as usual. Yeah, I don't really want to do that. Instead, I want to draw your attention back to some hidden lore, maybe. Not so long ago now, a few months ago, I put out a video that I've since deleted. And I don't mind admitting that I've deleted it. I put out a video that was pretty doom and gloom, and it was kind of just me sort of lamenting the fact that things weren't really going to plan, and I didn't really know what to do about it. I was kind of struggling not just to find the next step for Tesseract, but to even just keep going with what we were doing. And it's not a great place to find yourself. But I'm really not the kind of person to stay down for long. And that's sort of why I ended up deleting that video, because not only was it obviously quite negative by nature of what it was, but also the response really made me realize that maybe sometimes I think I'm doing a lot worse than I am, and actually the changes I need to make are quite simple, and your support is sort of what helps me realize that. The response to that video was actually great. I honestly thought a lot of people just maybe wouldn't care what Tesseract were up to and what we were doing, and kind of wouldn't mind either way if we stopped being a thing. And, that's quite a sad thing to think, isn't it? But I was completely wrong. A lot of people really rallied around me and said, here's some ideas, here's what I think you're doing right, here's what I think you're doing wrong. And I guess that's why I felt the need now, after a couple of months of taking stock, working things out, changing some things. Now might be the time to come together, have a chat to you all about what Tesseract is going to look like going forward, and what Tesseract is not going to look like going forward. And if you're new here, if this happens to somehow be the first video you land on, then I think it might actually serve as a pretty good introduction video, because it's going to give you a bit of an idea of what I want to do with this YouTube channel. So stick around. Now, the first thing is, as you all know, I'm a full-time professional miniature painter. That is my job, and that's kind of why I ended up sticking with the idea of having a YouTube channel for as long as I have, because despite the fact that this channel doesn't really draw a huge audience compared to some others on the platform, I really enjoyed doing it, and a lot of the content just kind of naturally comes from my day job, or at least that was always supposed to be the plan. Now, the problem is I'm really bad at remembering to set up cameras and hit record. So quite often during my day job, I'll be painting something that actually could be quite fun, could be quite interesting, could make for a good video, but I'll completely forget to make any kind of content about it. And that's okay, because I sort of made the decision a while ago that the channel wasn't really the place for painting content anyway. And I think that's something that you've all helped me realize. I decided instead that as I'm pursuing competition painting and trying to really up my game and become the best painter I possibly can, I'm going to start passing on some of the more intermediate skills to other people more. We started taking in-person classes. We did one at ChillCon. We actually made a little video about classes in general, and that's actually taken off into something quite significant. Over on Patreon now, I've got a couple of tuition tiers where for 15 quid a month, you can get 2 online lessons that you join as part of a group. And that happens every month. There's a whole itinerary of different topics, so you can plan which ones you want to attend. Or for 8 quid a month, you can just have video versions of them where you don't get to interact live and you don't get to ask questions. Now, I think that's a pretty cool feature to add to the channel. I'm going out and pursuing this more sort of advanced next level kind of, I want to be a really bloody good painter kind of knowledge. And so I think to myself, well, why not pass down some of the things I've learned over the years that got me into a position where I could be pursuing this kind of advanced, I want to be a really good painter kind of painting. So one of the big changes is actually that a lot of the painting itself, you'll see the end results on Instagram, link below if you want to follow us on Instagram. But a lot of the in progress stuff we're going to be probably doing a bit less of on the channel. And that really comes from you folks. I think you folks want more detail and more insight when it comes to learning about the painting. And so something that's formatted more as a tuition club, something that's actually a paid for service where the whole point is to learn, kind of makes more sense than the sort of naturally quite superficial dives that you tend to have to go into in videos where you're trying to ad optimize for 8 minutes long so that you don't make the video for free. And the other thing that is kind of the major change is actually what Tesseract is as a business. This YouTube channel is and always will be a reflection of my interaction with the hobby, essentially. The things that I find interesting, the things that give me a buzz, the things that get me excited to be a miniature wargamer, those are mostly going to be the things that make it to this channel, because that's kind of why I wanted to have a YouTube channel in the first place, was just to share the things that I think are cool. But what we do behind the scenes is, or has been up until recently, mostly commission painting. And we try to work more for businesses than end users, because that tends to be more the sort of work that I'm good at. They tend to not want armies painting. They tend to want, 10 models max. And that is very much the volume that I like to be able to juggle in order to keep myself engaged, keep myself painting at my best, that kind of thing. And we're definitely still doing that, but we are certainly moving in a direction where quite soon we probably won't be taking much in the way of orders from the general public at all for commission painting. It'll probably be very, very limited. I've actually already reduced it to just 3 slots a month. So if you're a member of, a business and you have miniatures for your business that you want painted for trade shows or for box art, things like that, that's the stuff that we're trying to keep ourselves open. That's the stuff we're trying to keep our schedule sort of allowing for. But that does have to come at the cost of something. And as I'll get on to shortly, because we have other projects on the go now, there is a necessity for something to be trimmed. And so we had to reduce the number of kind of end user painting commissions that were coming into the studio. It was the only way to juggle everything, essentially. So I guess with commissions overall, it's about wanting to do what I think best represents me as Tesseract, the brand. I want to be a competition painter. That's what I'm really striving towards at the moment. That's what I'm putting all the hard work in towards at the moment. And so I want the painting that I do for customers to reflect that. I want to do display pieces and one-offs and characters and centerpiece models. And really, I guess that's part of why I can't rely on commissions as a regular income, because that kind of thing is never going to be every day. People don't want special stuff, by definition, every day. But of course, there are other reasons that time saving and efficiency was really important, something I really had to think about with the business. And actually, the chief one among them is something I'm really excited to finally be able to talk to you on YouTube about. You might have spotted it in footage on the channel. You'll certainly know about it if you follow me on Instagram. But I've been painting a lot with this brush recently. This little pinky, purpley, tealy beauty is called the Workhorse, and it's developed by, well, me. There comes a time, I think, when you're involved with something long enough that eventually you start to feel like maybe you need to put something back in, do something related to that thing. And, well, I guess for me, that's ended up being making brushes. Oh, yeah, also, it's brush is now, not brush. Because the Workhorse was actually so successful in the little soft launch that we did for it that it's now a full range of sable rounds and goat hair dry brushes. Surprise, I'm a brush maker, apparently. The lovely Peachy of Peachy Tips invited us to PeachCon over the weekend, and we decided to kind of do that as a soft launch for the brush. You know, a kind of low expectation, low stakes event to give us a bit of an idea of what vending at events would be like. And I mean, well, you can see we've got no footage of PeachCon because you kept us really busy. It's seriously like crazy exciting, not only to have a product out there that I'm really proud of, but also that like all of you seem to be really excited about too. The early reviews of the brush range have just been staggeringly positive. So yeah, obviously if you want to pick up a paintbrush, there's going to be a link down there. That would be very silly not to. The Tesseract website and store is kind of one thing. Yeah, grab that. But it turns out I'm actually not done, because coming soon will also be our first miniature. So this bust you can see me working on here, I've been calling him the Pale King. I'm not sure if that's going to end up being his actual launch name, but he is my first official Tesseract Miniature Studios miniature. And he's inspired a little bit by like the Trench Crusade aesthetic, a little bit by King Baldwin from the movie Kingdom of Heaven. It's just kind of a cool aesthetic that I really dig, and I'm really enjoying working on painting the box art for him. Our sculptor, Tyner, has come up with a sculpt that I just absolutely adore. I love it so much, and I really can't wait for when it goes out to you folks and actually to start to see your interpretations of how it should be painted. That's going to be so interesting, because I think you're going to come up with crazy stuff. You always seem to. But yeah, if you are of the sort of 3D printer owning persuasion, Tyner is planning to release the STL as well, so you'll be able to get the physical mini from me, the STL from her. Just watch this space. When she's kind of ready to do that, I will shout that out, but I know at the time of making this video, she doesn't quite have all that set up, but it's certainly coming. Yeah, all in all, Tesseract is just headed to really amazing places that I didn't even think were possible. And I guess that's why I kind of wanted to come on and make this video, but also just to say thank you for the support, you know, the kind words, the encouragement. That's what kind of kept me battling through being a bit unsure of how things were going, and enabled me to get back on my feet and actually not only get things back together, but actually get things back to a better state than they've ever been in. Like, the company Tesseract we're here to stay, and we're doing really cool stuff now, and that's really because of you folks. But there is one final thing I do want to have a little chat about, because that's something that I think is important to you folks as well as my YouTube audience, and that is, in general, the direction of the channel. The feedback has kind of been that things maybe feel a little bit scattered, disorganized, a bit all over the place, and that's something I really had to take on board, take to heart, and have a think about. Because the thing is, when I first launched this channel, it was really just about like my hobby, really, and just kind of showing people the hobby stuff that I was doing. And so what that meant at the time was it was very GW focused and quite painting tutorial focused as well, because I would just be like, well, you know, this is how I've painted this. If you want to paint it the same way, then there you go. But I think there's definitely a line that you can see, and perhaps the reason it looks scattered is because of the way YouTube recommends stuff to people, because I think if you actually sort of chronologically follow the channel, there's a clear line you can see where I started to get really interested in indies, and a greater mission sort of started to become a thing for the channel. What I really want for Tesseract Miniature Studios as a YouTube channel is to be a place where I can shine a light on independent hobby brands, tools, tech, games, that kind of thing, stuff that you might have never seen before, or, you know, maybe have heard of but don't necessarily have like a bunch of information on, things that add value to your hobby. So I think the best thing I can really do to tighten things up is just going forward to be a lot more selective with things like sponsors and subjects. Of course, games like Malifaux, Infinity, Battletech, they're always going to have a place on this channel. And when there's kind of updates to those games that I think are relevant or interesting or worth chatting about, you'll probably still see me diving in with a video on them because they're games that I really love and that really gave me that kind of life after death feeling of when I got a bit fed up of 40k, realizing that there were other miniatures lines and other games that I could enjoy. But what I really want to do is provide that space for games that you might have no idea about otherwise. You know, I want to talk about and show you games that are really cool and really interesting, but could have otherwise slipped under the radar and not gotten the spotlight that they deserve. At the end of the day, running a YouTube channel, no matter how successful you are, if you care about the content you put out, it's hard work. Making even a simple video like this, for example, will take most of a day off of me, and this is really mostly just me talking to you. If I have to do painting or gameplay or any kind of processes, you're talking days to make a single video, and so if you've got to put that effort in, you know, there needs to be a reason to do it. And for me, the reason is wanting to lift up these really hard-working, interesting people that are trying to do something new and cool and give you something that you want, but don't really have the platform to be seen. You know, despite the fact that I am a tiny creator, YouTube is my biggest platform. You know, we are creeping ever closer to that golden 20k sub mark, and I feel like having that platform means, you know, there's almost a responsibility to use it to make a better hobby in some way. I don't know, it's hard to articulate, but I really just want to show off cool shit that you're going to enjoy, and I want that to come across in the content. So yeah, things might be a little bit less opinion-y going forward. They're going to be more about just things that are fun and exciting and interesting and are getting me hyped to be a hobbyist. They're going to be about things that I think you might miss if I don't show them to you, or things that you might not know as much about as it's worth looking into. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. Tesseract is going to great places. I'm in an incredibly excited, optimistic, and fun place at the moment, and things are only getting better. It's a really exciting time, and I really hope you're going to come along with us. So yeah, if you want to pick up a brush or some tuition, obviously check the links below. The new monthly tuition club is going really well. People are super digging it, and that is an amazing feeling for me. So again, thank you to the students that have jumped in early and gotten involved, because we've been having a really good time with it. The brushes are just blowing me away with how well they're being received. That's incredible. And yeah, stick around for more videos, because they are coming. I've actually got one in the pipeline at the moment that I think is going to really, really interest a lot of you. But until then, folks, thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me have a little ramble at you and kind of update you on what's going on. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.